30 years ago, I started as a banker, just minutes from here. And now I'm on stage talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. Now, some of you took some double takes. Probably wondering, what does a middle-aged white guy know about diversity? Well, I'm also heterosexual, cisgender, physically non-disabled, college educated, like the royal flush of privilege. It's what some refer to as the majority group, because those who hold the majority of positions of power in the United States look like me. So some think that it's pretty audacious and shamelessly different for someone like me to be advocating for DEI. But here's the thing, it shouldn't be. It should be expected. It should be normal. But I've gotten double takes ever since I started the work 20 years ago, as I was the first straight white guy doing diversity program management work for a top 5 bank. As I helped a global corporation create a DEI strategy, and even today with my clients, helping them build inclusive leadership cultures as an entrepreneur. Now, I can kind of get that, they might do a double take. When you Google Chief Diversity Officer, you're not going to see many faces that look like mine. But that's the problem. And that's why I'm here. You see, what if it was more normal for white men to be allies and advocates for DEI? What I hope is that you leave here today with the realization that white men belong in this work, that we have a unique role in driving inclusion. We do that as allies and advocates. These are some guys that know that, and they are impacting the world. So DEI, like most social change movements, have been shouldered by the very groups that are impacted by unfair treatment. It's like being on a boat that's sinking, and it's asking one group of passengers to fix the hull and bail out the water, while another group of passengers, they have the tools, resources, and responsibilities, but they don't pitch in. And so the journey is much longer and harder for some. But what if it sinks? I mean, DEI is at a pivotal moment right now. It's getting battered and beaten, and it's at risk of sinking. We're seeing tremendous backlash with new bans and laws discriminating against marginalized groups at the local, state, and federal levels. We're seeing an increase in lawsuits against corporations who are advocating for DE&I. Some even going as far as to say that DEI must die. DEI must die? Sure, DEI, like any other change movement, has its areas of improvement. Like many, I'm not satisfied with the progress. But we're asking a certain group of people to carry the weight of DEI that don't necessarily have access to resources. They don't necessarily have the power to create systemic change. They're too damn busy bailing out the water. And a small group of white men who are spending their time attacking, minimizing, and defunding DEI need to just pick up a pail, get their tools, and fix the boat. So everyone will benefit. But see, they have a very narrow and misunderstood view of DEI. So let me try to simplify it. Think about our motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. And we're going to see it on full display next week during the Paralympics. I hope you'll watch. But here's a group of athletes coming together to represent Team USA and to perform on a global stage. It's beautiful. And to me, this is what represents DEI. Diversity. It's a rich mix of differences. Equity is that each athlete's getting what they need in order to compete and win. Inclusion. You're broadening the idea of what it means to be an athlete and an Olympian. And the Paralympics happen because both disabled people and allies work together. Much like organizations and communities and companies across the country, they use the principles of DEI to create great places to work. They make sure that everyone feels like they belong. They have access to resources. They contribute to making the rules. They can live their best lives no matter the color of their skin, how they think, move, pray, So if you want to be a part of organizations, or you want to live in places that are safe and collaborative and thriving now into the future, put your hands up and give an American Sign Language for applause. Me too. And many white guys do. You know, a majority of white men believe that DEI is valuable. They believe it matters to create a level playing field. They work hard to grapple with what it means for them. And when white men understand that, there's an increase in engagement and commitment. And what I hear when I ask them about why DEI matters to them, they first say that it helps them be successful in their career, helps a team be successful or community be successful. But most of them say that it's personal. They tell me that they have joy in their eyes as they talk about their autistic daughter, or a friend who is transgender, or a coworker from another country. And they believe they just deserve the same rights as anyone else. And so they do the work. You know, 20 years ago, my son came up to me in his Spider-Man pajamas. He looked up to me and he said, "With great power comes great responsibility." And I knew at that moment that Declan had set the expectation that, "Dad, you better do good in the world like my hero, Spider-Man." He's one of the many reasons why DEI matters to me. His twin sister, Mackenzie, is another. And I just want to create a world better for them and future generations. What does diversity, equity, inclusion mean to you? You see, when we get grounded in our DEI why it matters, we're motivated to learn more, to pull more of our weight. You know, it helps for us to connect that to building emotional intelligence, that we increase our awareness of self and others and the dynamics of diversity. Imagine the circle representing our society. The edges symbolize our Constitution, laws, rules, and norms. See, historically, the majority group, like me, white, male, property owner, created this circle. And they established a society of social order by groups. They constructed this narrative that some groups are better than others. You have insider groups who are seen as valued, they fit, they're worthy of rights. And then you have outsider groups. They come from outside the circle. They're seen as suspicious, taken advantage of, and not deserving of equality. Now, I know a lot of progress has been made. But I think the present is filled with the history. Our group memberships, our group identity, shapes our individual identity and our experience within the circle. They influence how we're seen and treated, whether that's positive or negative, whether we can navigate life smoothly or have to confront challenges. Now, one of my insider groups is that I'm white. And I have the benefit of being treated and seen positively. People assume that I'm intelligent, I'm impactful, I'm in charge. And unlike Black, Indigenous, and people of color, I don't have to waste time and energy constantly beating up against negative racial bias and stereotypes. I don't have to spend time constantly proving my worth and that I belong. And that's called privilege. Now I know there are many white people, white guys, who can't accept that word. And I understand that, because it's connected to our outsider groups. You see, because identity is intersectional. So even though as a white person I might feel comfortable being in a circle, there are parts of me that may not fit. And for white men, it's that baby boomer in the workplace. It's the guy that doesn't have a college education, or maybe he grew up poor. And with those in mind, he gets a sense that he may not quite fit in the club. Let me pause, and I want you to think about your insider and outsider groups, and think about what that means for your experience in this circle. And I hope that you'll explore these in-out group dynamics in where you work or live, and start to see that, you know, insider groups do get seen favorably. And outsider groups, they pay a higher emotional tax because they're dealing with microaggressions and discrimination. Now, some accept that it's just the circle, it's the way it is. But I can't. I can't accept that too many unarmed black Americans are getting killed without justification. I can't accept that there's a rise in hate crimes for Latinos, Asians, indigenous people, or for Jews and Muslims, for the LGBTQ plus or disability communities. You know, I can't accept that a majority of women will report sexual harassment and assault in their lives. Now, none of us here created this circle, but we live in it, and we can change it. If we're going to recreate, reimagine a circle that works for all of our neighbors, it's going to take a collective effort and with greater consciousness. And white men, a lot of that is on us. Now, I know a lot of white guys. They're good guys. They got good intentions. And some of them do good work around inclusion. But sometimes there's a gap between good intentions and action and impact. Too many times it's too wide. And our apathy and fear and resistance get in our way of taking actions. So what helps is for us to realize that, you know, yes, progress has been made, but disparities still exist around health, wealth, and education. The racial, ethnic, and gender diversity at the higher levels of institutions across the country still do not mirror our population. So what do we do about it? Remember what my son said? With great power and privilege of insider groups and responsibility as allies and advocates, we can increase our understanding and compassion. We can turn our knowledge into action. We can partner with outsider groups to promote common causes for the common good. In order to help allies and advocates get comfortable and competent and confident in doing this work, I created the continuum of advocacy. And the first level is being an aspiring ally. You know, this is when we don't necessarily see difference, or we don't want to see difference, and so we take some baby steps. You know, we do some actions or take some actions in private, but we want to be more. We want to do more. And so that next level is ally, and this is where we develop our critical thinking around diversity. We are consistently confronting microaggressions and discrimination. People tell us that we're allies because we take risks and publicly support them. But then you have advocate. And the advocate are those who look at this circle and change policies and climate and culture. They integrate diversity in everything they do. They're champions and mentors and sponsors, even though sometimes there's pushback. So where are you on this continuum? Because wherever you are, it's okay. But where do you want to go next? In order to drive inclusion in a very effective way, there are five actions that you can take. And I want you to pay attention and kind of think about it, because I want you to pick one of these. The first is, why does it matter to you? Write it down. Tell people. Next is to build our awareness, is to actually see that differences make a difference. It's to observe your environments. Actually see and name some of the dynamics that might be going on. And it's to take authentic and humble and courageous action. You know, join a council or a committee. You know, have bold conversations across differences. And finally, it's accountability. You know, when you're making important decisions, you know, include people that might be most impacted by those decisions. Seek that diverse feedback. So what's one action that you will take as a way to improve your path around the continuum of advocacy so that your intention meets your action and your impact? Let me let you in on a little secret. Being an ally and an advocate feels like you have a superpower. And it may even make you a superhero to someone in your life. In closing, I want to express some gratitude and a call to action. First, I want to recognize and honor the diverse indigenous people connected to this territory in which we gather. I want to thank outsider groups who've been a part of my life. I'm only on this stage because of them, because they invested in me. They opened up their lives to me. They trusted, challenged, and taught me. They held me accountable, and they gave me hope. And I'm especially grateful for the black women in my life who inspire me every day because they often carry a heavy burden and still remain steadfast in pursuing justice for all. I also want to thank the white men in my life who have modeled allyship and advocacy and taught me what it means to be a true partner in meaningful change. At its core, DEI is about creating a world of decency, liberty, and prosperity for all. White men had a role in that. Because to whom much is given, much is required. We can do more. We must do more. In order to drive inclusion, white guys belong in that. We have a unique role in driving inclusion and creating great places to work. It's to being drum majors for everyone. It's ensuring that they have fair and equal access to resources. It's to ensure that they have the freedom to contribute to the welfare of all. So white men, will you join me on this journey? Let's go. Thank you.